There are more questions than answers.
Radio Ebanks, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey.
Who's next to me?
Hey.
You think this is
We didn't advertise as much, but I'm here today.
You're here today?
Yeah.
You sound like
Joel
this
is
would
always
be...
happy when we do that.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
when we don't do that.
Exactly. You saw the message you sent us?
Yeah. I heard the words.
I'm sorry, I'll tell you.
We go straight into it?
Go straight. Kind of like most things these days, you
So
fall
this is
into
See Wha Ah Sayin is what today is.
All right. And this voice that you're hearing, other than mine, is none other than Wray, who was, famously awarded
Oh,
and
that was
recognized last evening.
We survived last night.
All right. And I don't know about you, Ray, but of all the topics to date, this
What do you
one
mean you don't know
has
about me?
given me more challenges than normal.
Yeah, so we got to let people know what it is. The topic is earthquakes, and then we adding on tsunamis and sinkholes too, because they go along with it. But the topic today, earthquake, for See Wha Ah Sayin.
All right. And for everybody else, please go on YouTube if you wish. Miss Susan will train the cameras on Ray and our wonderful guest, Mr. Simon Box.
And we'll get to see if there's a repeat today of any earthquake activities when it comes to Dwayne and
Yep. So Simon,
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Ray.
and to our
glad we could
listeners-
get you here actually. Yeah.
All right. So here is what I was just thinking, and we'll get into the technical, the information. I had almost promised someone that I'll try to be serious, but I think the learning aspect of this and why the information sticks is the somewhat lighthearted approach to otherwise good information, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with respect, I won't apologize to the gentleman by name, but I think we planned this show before the earthquake, as it were. It wasn't fully fleshed out, right, Raymond?
Okay.
Raymond?
Okay. So that little move that you made during the earthquake was an advertisement for it.
Not at all.
Okay. The hashtag I'm with Susan. We got that going.
Oh my gosh.
I'm with Susan. I do not disagree with Susan's actions. I'm with Susan. Let's talk about it outside.
No, but I mean, I feel safe. I felt okay in here. I sat and it was okay.
Yeah, I saw some expressions on your face I hadn't seen before, but yeah.
You should have been in the studio. You'd heard something. But the thing is that and it's amazing how video conveys something other than what's transpiring, right?
Really? But sometimes it tells you exactly what it is too. There's that.
But Susan, how is it? I mean, join us. What do you think from your perspective? Come on, please weigh in on it, because now our discussion is going to be all-encompassing. The earthquake's going to be a part of it. The idea that we have Simon, you're here for the expertise. Aquifers, I'm told, underground caves and caverns and crevices.
But
awesome.
then the big debate, tsunamis.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the only tsunami I saw was Ray. That was a different thing.
But actually, I saw a video. We actually had a tsunami. It was
Did you
like
see the little thing off
yeah.
some of it? But quite a lot of the canals and things too.
Yeah. And people's pools and stuff were vibrating.
Well, that wouldn't be the tsunami. The people in the thing in the pool wouldn't be the tsunami.
No, I thought
Underwater, they felt it too.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently it felt like their heart got kind of realigned, boomf, and the sand started coming up, and the fish and turtles were going crazy.
Wow.
Well, that's how my heart felt on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
She looked at me
Oh,
smooth.
did a big wave?
Okay, Susan. Before we bring the other caller, because we've got callers jumping in.
But hold on. Can we say we have Simon here. He's from Hazard Management, but not today. He's not officially from Hazard Management. And this is not a public service safety show by any means. We're going to be discussions, debates, and
I appreciate you putting that disclaimer.
Yes.
I don't mean to interject, but you and I talking, and people think it's about public safety.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it kind of is. Look out for these two.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be
it's
that,
not-
right? Yes.
All right.
Would you agree?
It's not as serious. I mean, we're going to be talking about some
But we are,
history
but
and
in the
stuff,
end,
but-
it's serious. But
Yeah.
I mean, the way we present it is lighthearted.
Right.
And people, I think sometimes, I think even my work is that way too. It's like it's supposed to be funny initially, but then when you
Yeah.
boil down, there's a serious side to it.
I think it's actually probably good for people right now. There's
It
so many
is,
people
but that's it.
feeling
But
kind of-
that's why I think people like this.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with you.
I'm assuming
All right.
people enjoy the show.
Okay, so Susan's like, see you, but I
So
don't
we
know.
hold on. What was happening?
Probably
wants us
go to
take a
commercial
call.
now.
Yeah, she wants us to jump into the phones.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, there's Simon, and there's Ray, and of course,
So,
you have-
supposed to be talking about earthquakes.
all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Simon and Mr. Ray. Raymond Scott here.
Good afternoon.
Good
Lloyd's
afternoon,
of
sir.
London Signal Station. I remember you from
Yeah,
back in the
Simon.
days, little Cayman. Thank you
Yes,
for all you do
remember.
out there for the mariners on the sea, especially, around Cayman.
Yes, the savior of the seas. That's right. I'd be there to help anyone that gets in trouble and bring them to safety. And that's the title, Roger.
Roger that. Stand by on 1-6, my friend.
Yes, I remember Simon working at the Southern Cross Club in Little Cayman when I was down in Little Cayman starting the electricity project for Power and Light. Me and the late Mr. Leeson Martin, my dear friend, and Henry Scott, we were the ones that started the electricity project in Little Cayman.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just
I'm
a
busy
handful
today.
of us. You remember old the governor, Mr. Bird Ebanks? Well,
Yes,
what a
correct.
man he was.
Incredible man.
There was only 17 of us living back then in Little Cayman.
And 16 at home, we're watching the other one work. So, no, I should be. No, Mr. Raymond, respectful.
Sorry.
I know you
Yeah.
got a lot
Busy
on
man.
your table, so
Yep.
thank you for calling, sir. Thank you.
Yes, one moment, sir. Hold on.
Hold on. Okay.
Okay,
No.
let's wait.
All right. So, Susan, join us
Starship
now
crashing?
with respect to the earthquake that day. You want to share? I mean, how do
We
you?
got a couple thousand people that seen the video.
What was your take? I mean, how
Give us the behind the scenes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It was unnerving, to say the least. I think it was about 2:10 in the afternoon, and I was looking. Sterling was looking at me naturally.
I can quote it. Susan, is that earthquake with a funny little look on the face?
I think it's a good piece for rundown. but I felt like a little shake, and then I looked at Sterling. Sterling looked at me, and Sterling kind of like, "Is that what I think it is?" And I'm like, so I was in the studio. Of course, in the studio, it felt like there was water underneath my feet. So it was going like this. So I got up, and Sterling was like looking at me, watching my body language, and I was like, "My gosh, it is!
And
It is!"
Susan, tell us how
like an
concerned you
earthquake.
were about the break.
I couldn't find the board to get to the break because it was shaking and it was kind of swaying. It was frightening, but we remained calm. At least Sterling, I have to say, Sterling, thank you so much, because Sterling looked at me.
Susan,
Go to break.
You didn't duck under the table, Stan?
Susan, what? He joined Susan in the parking lot.
No. He came in the studio. We stood in the doorway. Yeah.
And the reason we didn't.
It sounds so cordial.
She was like,
Susan discovered her speed, her land speed.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah,
you see, Susan?
That's not the safety
I would not be
procedure,
talking to
Susan.
Dwayne. I'm like out in the parking lot. Let's talk about
where
it.
you
out there.
where you gonna go? I mean, this is a bunker, right? I stood there, and
Heavy bunker.
it was this. All jokes aside, it was on one point where before you couldn't feel or notice anything. For me, it felt like I was feeling something.
You took about I charted it. You took about 5 or 6 seconds to go. Wait a minute, is that?
Yeah.
That's not a truck.
Yeah, and before it
That's
even
not
became
AC.
anything, right? I was noticing it, and I said, okay, for those of you who are
Feeling
that's
that.
probably
Yeah.
because I could sense it. And then when it was apparent from what Susan was sharing, that yes, there is this thing,
Right.
and I just thank God I did not in my mind react in a way that bolted out of the studio that probably I should have. I don't know, right?
No.
No.
But by the same token,
There was an empty chair.
I think you remain calm. to say
you
the
think so?
truth. Yes.
I don't know. I hope so. But
I wish I
but
had.
it was as Susan shared. It was unnerving, and I think why I'm glad that thank you for sharing that with us. Why I thought this discussion in particular has been interesting is that as we look at our programming for the different shows, right? I don't know about other people, but my friends across all 3 islands, those of us who explore the caves, those of us go diving, there are little cracks, our older brothers and siblings, our uncles or parents would talk about, I don't know, holes in the ground that they would
Earthquake
type.
faults and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Right. And so you know these places, and then you start to appreciate.
Probably the most famous one that we don't really realize is Rock Hole. Rock Hole is, we did the whole show on Rock Hole.
Yeah.
We found out the name was from a natural hole that they used to wash their clothes in, and that's a sinkhole.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
See, and there's so much.
Well, I knew, So do you know where the actual hole is, Ray?
Sorry?
Do you know where the actual hole is in Rock Hole?
We got roughly, it's like by the primary school.
Okay.
But I'm sure we can narrow it down. It was, I don't know, maybe probably capped over is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what we had when we first
Yeah.
discovered it. It was right, but that's why we would appreciate you from many different perspectives. And as Ray shared, with all sincere, we're asking people not just look at you in your capacity as Ray, and a hat other than somebody who has an interest and knowledge, who grew up here, who knows stuff, and share with us.
Okay.
Because we don't want it to think that this is anything other than what it is. Hey, do you know what's going on? But you were Sam. Okay, so we want Simon to come back into the conversation. Mr. Raymond now found a battery for his phone. And sorry, Mr. Raymond, I got to have fun with you today. But
He was actually, Quincy has a nice little piece on him. He did at the Culture Foundation last night. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so do we get Mr. Raymond back on?
Brilliant.
Okay, Mr. Raymond, you're able to join us back again, sir?
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay.
The phone went blank. I thought you had cut me off, and I said I'm not finished with what I had to say. Why you cut me off?
That's tomorrow, so we cut you off. No, we didn't. We thought actually that you were waiting to order something from the shop and say, look, I get back to them in the serious. It's just technology, sir. Sometimes it happens, and I'm glad that you're able to rejoin us.
Yes, sir. Okay, I have a discussion about the earthquake, what I witnessed. I was on the southern edge of the bluff at the creek, Cayman Brack, about 40 feet from the edge when the earthquake tremor occurred to me and the owners of the property in that area. And when it started, the man shouted, he said, it's an earthquake, and I just stayed put in my location. And what I felt is the entire bluff did a rolling motion from left to right, and it reminded me of being on board a super tanker in bad weather, like a almost loaded super tanker. It rolls slightly to one way and back the other way, port to starboard, left to right. That was the motion of the bluff. Now, me and the two landowners there may have been the only ones near the edge of the bluff, Cayman Brack, to experience that at the time. I don't know of anyone else on that height, which is about 120 feet above ground level. And when it was settling down on the last part of it, it felt like I was on a cushion, went upward and downward, and that is solid flint cliff, like hard like granite rock there on the bluff upper back of the creek on the southern edge. First time I ever felt a tremor in my life. I had never felt any of those that you all felt in Grand Cayman. That was quite a strange thing. Anyway, on Thursday evening and Wednesday evening, I excavated or dug out 2 of the earthquake sinkholes in 2 different locations on Cayman Brack to have them compacted and backfilled. I used my heavy equipment, and one of them we had to truck material and park the truck right in front of the hole and let the contents drain down in the hole. That had roughly, one of them had 15 feet of water. That was the deepest one that we found on Cayman Brack so far, 15 feet of water.
You did, Mr. Raymond, you didn't have to get your fill from Canada, did you?
No, definitely. Definitely not. No, luckily I had my own fill, yes.
Yes, sir. All right.
Oh, well, thanks for that. That's great. I was actually wondering what I never really got a lot of detail on how Brack had fared on the thing. That was my concern when I was actually trapped in the hospital with the tsunami warning, and I was thinking about that Brack and your video. So I had to get back to see that because I know you were on here at that time.
All right.
Details to tell you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No.
I have inspected all the holes that were so far that I know about was on Cayman Brack, 7 holes, and what It was a liquefaction process in the trembling and vibration from the earthquake, where combustion of water developed under Cayman Brack, and the weakest spots of holes that were filled. One of them was in a yard, and it probably been filled maybe 50 years ago or more. Mm-hmm. The weakest spots into the holes actually blew out. It was like a combustion of force underneath Cayman Brack, that the weakest spots, like we call them cliff holes, like round holes in the rock or splits in the rock. And one of them I could see that I worked on was an original earthquake split, which could have happened thousands or tens of thousands of years before the rock was separated. That's the one was about 3 feet long by about 2 feet across the top, and that was the one that had the 15 feet of water. And the other one was like a round hole that all the water came up and circulated and actually ate out, eroded the contents that was in the hole from landfill from, say, maybe 50 years ago, and then it sunk down. And most of them, all of them that I have inspected, it was a blowout force. It was not a crack where the vibration from the earthquake split and separated the rock.
Yes, sir. And those are hobbies. Thanks very much for that.
Thanks.
Simon, we hear, your perspective.
Yes, the sinkholes are formed. Do you want to jump in, Ray?
Yeah, well, sorry. I was just, sort of what I was letting people know, that earthquake didn't necessarily form these holes, they exposed them.
Right. There are lots of holes under the ground as well, but in some places you do have material like Mr. Raymond was talking about there, where it's been filled previously, and friction is holding a lot of the pieces together or the particles together, but when the shaking occurs, it can split that sort of bond and cause the water to get squeezed out and
rip
kind
the
of drop
Band-Aid off of it, basically. Yeah. And there's a couple spots. There's the public beach that opened up the last time, and I think by West Bay Cemetery. Those areas there that were previously
Marriott,
open.
There was one there as well. And but there are lots of them.
Yeah, there's tons of them. Yeah. But let's get, because we have you, and you have a lot of info on earthquakes in particular, and we got a long list of things here. And then tsunamis is kind of what we really, the part that's
interesting.
Yeah.
To talk about. Yeah.
So
where do you want to go?
Well, like I said, we only have you for a limited time. What do you think? I'll leave it up to you.
We could go back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
What
talk about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Gents.
Or break? Yeah, we'll go break first and then.
So I'll tell you what one teacher says to our civics class. The earthquake is the sinkhole. All right. What an audit is the government's policy. It just exposes it. All right. Let's go to When you come back to join the call, we get Simon. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Your favorite family fun day is back. The 53rd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Theme, Agriculture for the Future. Ash Wednesday, February 26th. Family fun for everyone. Acrobatic show, cooking competitions, produce, plants, pony rides, petting zoo, rodeo, and so much more. Gates open at 7 a.m. with ample parking. General admission is only $10. Children ages 2 through 11, $5. And under 2 are free. Or buy your raffle ticket including entrance fee for a chance to win $20,000 and so much more. For more information, visit them on Facebook or 345agriculture@gmail.com. Put down your iPad and get back to your roots at the 53rd Annual Agricultural Show, February 26th in Lower Valley.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks again, not just for our wonderful guests and listeners, and we have the excellent company for this month's See Wha Ah Sayin, Mr. Simon Boxall. And we're going to talk about, earthquakes, tsunamis, sinkholes, crevices or crevasses. We have probably figured out which word. But we do have a caller. Let's just join our caller. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
To Radio Cayman's lovely host.
Ray?
And to the lovely panel. I didn't want to say just lovely host and panel. I want to make sure that
would be too much a stretch.
Lovely panel as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And you can tell Mr.
Simon or Ray?
Simon, who I am when it's over.
It's Miss Hope. Miss Hope. Oh, I miss your hugs at the government building, Miss Hope.
You know how much I appreciate you. Okay, this is an overdue thank you, but I feel that it's an appropriate time to thank Susan.
Yeah.
And if Dwayne was the one that told her to go to commercial,
go to break, Susan.
I will have to thank him too. But when Susan went to commercial, how did she know what to play? She played such an appropriate, upbeat, spiritual song. I don't even know if I can remember what it was now, but I know that it was very calming, and that when she left at 3 o'clock, I felt less secure. And I want to thank you, Radio Cayman staff, for always being there with us till the storm passes by. And I sincerely mean that.
You're most welcome, Mom. And that's, thank you for that. We just say thanks.
It's well deserved.
Yeah, man. And it's what we are. We joke. Well, me and our team here are professional and they're on the ball. Joke. I try to joke, but Susan,
if you don't know what we're talking about, you can go on YouTube, Radio Cayman that day. What was the date?
28th.
The 28th of January. Deleted.
Just watch him.
The empty chair.
And then there was a chair. No, but we'll get there at some point.
But we've got Mr. Boxall here to tell us what exactly happened or what happens, because we're an active earthquake area.
Yeah, we're the
seismic area.
Right. We're on the Cayman Ridge, which extends from the highest mountain range in the Caribbean, southeastern Cuba, all the way down through mysterious Ebanks, down towards Belize. So it's a couple of 1,600 miles long. And we're the outcroppings on top of this underwater mountain range.
And we're actually Americans.
We're
American.
Yeah, we're on the North American plate.
Yeah,
that's right. So there's these tectonic plates there. There's 6 of these big blocks, basically, because the weight of the crust is so heavy that it causes the under the crust to be molten, liquid rock. We've never managed to get down to the center of the Earth.
I don't know if we want to do that, though.
We believe it's an iron ball, but we've never drilled down far enough. But not the Cayman is, but yeah, we're not going to do it anyway.
You can call Bruce Willis. Did he make a movie?
Mr. Raymond. He gave us a report. It was hot. Very hot. I couldn't feel it. It was hot. But no, sorry. But so, and then we've got, is it the Orient?
Oriente fracture zone, yeah. So basically there are three types of plate interactions. You can either push them together, that's subduction zones, transform plate boundary lines where they go past one another, or divergent or spread apart. And so we got two of those.
And we're kind of unique because it's not necessarily buttoned together, it's sliding.
We have one area where it's sliding, that's strike, slip, or transform, and then just right below Georgetown, there's this pull apart spreading center where new molten rock is forming. It's cooling and forming new crust because the plates are pulling away from each other. That's where all those submarines went down a couple of years ago. Remember that?
Those vents there that we saw?
The deep sea vents, yeah. That's kind of... Lucky we don't have explosive volcanism. We just have like minor vents.
And that's right in Grand Cayman too. The Brack and Little Cayman are on the ridge, and then we've got that little dog leg thing going on.
That dog leg is the area where it's pulling apart.
And that's pretty active.
It's pretty active. We've seen sort of a bit more activity over there with the aftershocks recently, but that's kind of where the 6.8 magnitude event occurred, just a little bit east of that dog leg.
2004?
2004, sorry. Yep. December 14th, 2004.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember how it was shattered from my mind. Yeah, whether it was in January or December, right after the storm.
December 14th.
December. Yeah.
So it's moving at about the speed your fingernail grows. We're moving away from Jamaica. We're moving off to the west, and Jamaica's moving off to the east. And Susan going to jump in?
No, that's us. So moving away from Jamaica part. And about not an inch a year.
Sort of 19 millimeters. That might be close to an inch or something.
And it's where we're going. We're going east.
We're going west.
West.
Closer to Cuba.
Closer to West Bay.
No, closer to Mexico actually.
Okay.
So obviously it's not a smooth process. Enormous forces are built up, and occasionally, that tension that builds up in the rock eventually will release, and that's what we felt on January 28th.
So predictive analytics, could we be able to look at, because we know what is happening geologically, we can measure it, we've seen it. Is there a way to assess, the probability of this occurring?
When we're getting it again.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, most of the research has been done in all frankness, in the Eastern Caribbean and the subduction zone and over by Montserrat with the volcano.
But they don't consider us Caribbean, you see, especially now that we're in the North American plate. Yep. So there's even more reason for them not to think we're Caribbean.
If you go to the University of West Indies Seismic Research Center, there's a list of recent earthquakes. They don't even list the one that we had on January 28th.
That's the problem when we find, when in our research, if we don't find anything directly Cayman, we got to go Jamaica and kind of work around.
But there's a seismic unit there, yes. But there is, based on this motion, there's possible to draw conclusions about return periods.
Yeah.
So they think every 300 to 500 years we're going to get a magnitude 7 or above.
Right.
So hopefully we got this one out of our systems now. But I mean, there's still a possibility, because it felt like it was the equivalent of a 5 magnitude earthquake that we felt, because it was quite far away.
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
So if it had been right closer to us, you can imagine it would have been, as it's logarithmic, much stronger.
And I don't know if people seeing, they just kind of released it end of last year, all the way 2011, Japan, 9.0 for like 3 minutes. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, if everybody can see that, that's online. You haven't seen that one yet?
I did. I've seen amazing.
The airport one.
Video I saw the picture of the tsunami rolling through and the cars getting picked up and everything. Awful.
But this one was in the airport, and it was like it just kept going on and on. And
I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, if you feel a long earthquake, or very strong to the point where you can't walk, you've got to kind of assume that there's a tsunami and not wait for a warning from government. There just probably isn't time. So you might feel one that's not very strong but very long. That might mean there's something a couple hundred miles away, or like in Jamaica or somewhere. But if it's long, like you say, if it goes for a couple of minutes, those are the ones typically that might be.
And let's talk about damage. All of the Haiti one that killed thousands in, what was that, 2010?
2010, yeah.
And that was less than ours. That was 7.0.
Was it? No, it was December 2009, because we had the one in January 19th, 2010. You remember that little short shock we had there? And that was right after the earthquake in Haiti. Yeah. People kind of panicked, so they were flying down the stairs and all sorts of crazy stuff.
I'm with Susan.
So we want to ask two things. I mean, we talk about timing and the like. This you just shared. This one was registered 7.4.
7.7, the most recent one.
Okay, and we felt it was my.
Our effects, you said, were 5.
Well, 5, right? So 7.7.
Just under a 5.
Right. How do we know that was a 5 that we felt here? It is recorded as 7.7, and so people understand exactly.
Well, that's a great question. There are shake maps that are put out by the United States Geological Survey, what they call the USGS. So it's almost like a topographical map. You can see where the different strengths are in kind of rings around, and because it was kind of an east-west rupture, it's sort of stretched out, but you can actually see the ring is just got us
kind
just
of
below
oval.
5.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And with that, equally, you talked about duration. If you feel it and you know it's sustained, assume, right?
Yeah. Don't
right. We recognize that some of us, judging time and distance, we're good at it. Some of us is like, wow, was that 4 days? No, guy, that was 4 seconds. We're bad with judging. For this one, 2 things. One, how long was this shaking, rattling, and rolling that we felt?
I tell you, go to the video.
No.
It's probably a good idea.
It is on the account.
I think it's just about a minute or 11 minutes, something like that.
And then for that person now who's trying to assess, I guess it's training and it's acclimation. It's
you did
oriented.
good 20 seconds and you were gone.
Lost in 20 seconds. It took him 20 seconds to figure out what was happening. Like,
no, but
that's pretty
okay.
normal.
We're going to come back to me. Before it was visible, I sensed it. I felt it, right?
Yeah.
And then when it's interesting. I mean, the video is one thing, and I appreciate Joel. It's fun. It's
fun, but not at the time.
No, it was sitting there thinking, okay, it's amazing how your brain and how whatever training and whatever disposition you have, right? And understanding what we need to do and what not to do. So at some point we'll have that. That's just discussion. But this thing is still striking to a lot of us. It's probably still has affected.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
We have the discussion of people taking it seriously
Yeah.
now. But
I think
years ago, if you talk about tsunami, it'd be like, yeah.
And the other thing I want too is to, Ray has sort of put down a timeline from the
like to show that how active we were. It's not just a recent thing. I mean, probably within living history.
Yeah,
it is
from the late 1600s. I mean, you want to go through so people see that this is
what we got here from 1693 was probably the most
1692,
famous.
you're probably talking about Port
Royal. Sorry, too. That was where Port Royal, 2/3 of Port Royals got submerged, sunk.
People always call it Port Royal, but it was actually the whole of Jamaica. Mountains collided, rivers dried up. It went from one end to the other.
Because you were there, right? You saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually got.
You saw the video.
No, I've got 3.
I got live leaks of it. Security camera on the pirate.
Google. I got 3 sort of first-hand accounts of it right after it, describing the
But that one is probably the most famous. We call it 1692. And it, like I said, we call it Port Royal earthquake, but it was all of Jamaica. 7.5.
That's what they estimated at.
Yeah, and then about 5,000 died, and
that had a tsunami as well.
Yeah, but because some of it, we wonder whether it was because of the landslides.
Well, most of them appear to be. I mean, there's been 10 really significant tsunamis, I think, in the Caribbean since 1492 or whatever, and it seems like 90% of them have actually occurred off that strike-slip boundary. A lot of people associate tsunamis with subduction zones where the one plate shoots onto the other kind of thing.
We got to say there's about 4 different ways of having a tsunami. It's the earth plates getting hit together.
Right.
Landslides, like you
underwater
said.
Landslides.
Underwater landslides.
Or slumps or slips.
It's the displacement of water, the energy on the thing. So there's also volcanic.
Underwater volcano.
And there's also the tele one. From
tele, I mean, you could have like a chunk of the earth fall into the sea.
Or an earthquake from fire off. It's from fire off.
Yeah,
tele
tsunami means it comes right across the ocean, like the Portugal one in 1755, what they call the Lisbon one that crossed and hit the Caribbean.
So St. Anne's Bay, which is on the north side of Jamaica, had also a tsunami at that time.
Yes, that's right.
So let's get back to it.
And there was one in 1992 in Jamaica. There was one in 1907 after that earthquake. And in fact,
1907 was a major one,
3 submarine communication cable snaps to Jamaica. You know the cables that carry all our data and our phone stuff. Because of the movement of the underwater landmass snapped the cables, and so.
And now we have what is 1692 for Cayman. Remember, I said that whether
we were affected.
Well, this is asterisks next to this one. This was out of. I just recently found it out of.
Well, you're museum historian. I mean, at that time there may have been some turtle fishing camps and stuff, but there probably weren't a lot of people.
It wasn't a lot. It's in this one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's this. That's for like a tourist. That's what I'm saying. It's asterisks. It's a tourist thing.
I think it's very likely that it was a felt event in Cayman, and that could have been associated.
But what highlighted it for me was kind of, they said the western part of it of Cayman was broken off, so that was kind of a specific. But then I wonder if
associated with. Oh, this is that research
well,
can you read it? What they said?
Well, okay, hold on. Yeah. 1692, an earthquake and tidal wave struck these islands, and the sea swept over their land, killing many. Part of the west coast rocky shoreline fell into the sea.
This is talking about Grand Cayman.
Yeah.
Who wrote
so
the account?
This is what I'm saying. This is for a tourist. This was like for. That's why it is an asterisk. That's what I'm saying. I just found it recently, and this is Frank Rolston's senior.
Okay.
Thing. So this is.
He was one of the pioneers of radio, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In a hotel.
I think that's why he came here, and then that was like I said, that was for the Sea View. You have.
I mean, we don't have a lot of historical accounts. I mean, the government building burned down in '72.
Exactly.
So we, a lot of this is probably asterisks. Records from.
Well, he said it's some government records, some private records, and some sundry historical records.
Sundry.
Or
it's kind of a nice sort of.
Yeah, way of saying
from here, there, and about.
So, like I said, I was all gung ho until he said 1846 record of 10 sales. So I went, oh. No. So that's what I'm saying, asterisks.
He heard about something, the 10 sales. Obviously, he'd heard about it.
Right.
So there's some accurate bits. And
exactly. So that's what I'm saying, asterisks.
He was definitely a very well-respected man.
Mm-hmm. So that's what. But what was kind of
maybe
noticed for me was the west coast rocky shoreline fell into the sea. That's type of a
yeah. I mean, that's interesting. We know weathers. I think the coves. You see the blowholes and things like that. I've actually been inside them with scuba gear. Some of that I wouldn't recommend doing it, but it's quite interesting. The whole lid is like flexing down, and it opens up really quite wide.
That's how the coves develop.
Probably, I think so.
That's how Georgetown Harbour, and you
they
can
just
see
pop
that,
down.
that Smith's Place there.
So I've actually witnessed part of that little island near Smith's Barcadia Cove falling into the sea as well, carving off a chunk of that when I was a boy.
You weren't there with a hammer or anything, were you?
No, I wasn't chiseling.
Okay, just checking. So that's, like I said, asterisk 1692. That's the oldest kind of account that we have about that. And then Cayman again, we have a 17 either 1774 or 1744. They're either the same one or they're two separate ones. Okay.
So in the 1700s, I mean,
and it's causing much damage to East End.
I think that there is another account that we have to look at. We can't discount these massive boulders that are on the South Shore. And Brian Jones, the geologist, radiocarbon dated those to, I think, around 615. What's very interesting is the same sort of boulder effect is present on the west tip of Jamaica and also on parts of the south coast of Cuba. So I'm wondering whether it might even be possible to triangulate these things and actually find out where that, if there's some debate whether it was a huge hurricane or a tsunami. I think some scientists think it was probably a tsunami.
Mr. Raymond was involved.
Or if Mr. Raymond. Yes, that's true. But I think it might be possible to actually determine exactly where the underwater landslide was. And I think that might be, a useful research.
And you think those other spots, the Cuba and the Jamaica spots, is kind of dated the same time period?
I believe that they are in Jamaica. I don't know whether they've been researched in Cuba, but I have some research from like the Negril Point area or something that puts them in the same kind of date range. So...
Okay, so we have that, like I said, 1774, and we know 1775, we have the famous tsunami, the
1755 was,
the Lisbon. That
there
was
might
amazing.
have been some earlier ones too, though. That there was
I'm just talking about that's where that affected us, and that one was a major event worldwide. That changed. I think Portugal stopped being a superpower after that. It really changed. It really changed their thing. Everybody started getting religious and everything. So it was a major. And I'm trying to think if I have what. I don't think was it a 7 or something. That one, 7 or 8.
That event in
Portugal.
That was a 7 point. I've got it here somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe we come back to it.
But the next reliable one that we have for Cayman is 1849.
I have an account of an event in 1843.
Oh, right, you do, yeah.
It's a really odd account, and I found it in 2 different sources. I found it in the book Antigua and the Antiguans, and also a couple of newspapers. The Patriot newspaper, Monday, the May 29th, 1843, in the Patriot.
Foster's then, I think.
Foster's.
Yeah, it was in Foster's.
So Captain Avery of the Bark, I guess that's a boat.
Yeah, it's a type of boat. Yeah,
Bark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Martin W. Brett arrived this morning, April 15th, from Cartagena, reports that the Grand Cayman, one of the 3 islands called Caymans lying between Cuba and Jamaica, was sunk by an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Sunk by an earthquake. Captain Avery reports having made the island and being boarded by several boats from the shore. The Grand Cayman is about 8 leagues long and 2.5 broad. I guess that's old measurement.
Yeah.
And is inhabited mostly by the descendants of the old buccaneers and by Negro turtle fishers.
Yeah.
So that's an odd account. Sunk by an earthquake. Whether or not that's a wave actually kind of whipping
Probably,
across.
Yeah.
It's an unusual account.
And it's difficult researching it because tsunamis, the word tsunami, Japanese, let's go through that. Japanese word, like English wasn't bad enough for me, meaning...
harbor wave.
Harbor wave.
Yeah, harbor wave. And that became in our English vernacular in the 1890s, probably when we started going to Japan, discovering Japan. So it's hard to research like...
That was the first time it was used in the English language?
Roughly, according to Google Books. Around about that time.
Do you want to get back to that 1849?
Yeah, sure.
That was really cool.
Go on.
Interesting. Why don't you actually? I have the account too.
So 1849, Reverend James Emsley of Emsley Memorial Church.
Yes.
Said there was no deaths, but a very severe shock. The earth opened up in more than 20 places in Georgetown, and some wide and deep. The ships also felt it 20 miles out at sea.
Yeah, that's an interesting account. Again, it doesn't appear in the USGS record, which is also. I think there's probably gaps because a lot of these came in from shipping reports, but Cayman was, I don't know whether there was a lot of history getting reported back and things like that. So there are probably other events. There could have been events like this one that just didn't make it.
Sure.
But that sounds like quite a significant earthquake.
Yeah, what do you think that was, like a 6 or something? Or?
Depends on proximity. Could have been 6.5. Could have been over a 7, but it just really depends where it was. Obviously, if the seas,
that's what I put in there. 20 miles out at sea.
Yeah, that's interesting. That
sounds like a trench.
Felt in the even at sea that the shock was severely felt. That's an interesting thing. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think. It does show that we are seismically active in our region, and trouble is with these things, it's so hard to prepare for because they happen so infrequently. We might go for 100 years now and not have another really big one.
But then when it does.
So after the break now, let's pick up because we get to see the timeline and maybe be reminded historically. Of course, we want to take your calls, and we're very grateful to Mr. Simon Box. So
he's a limited time. That's why we want to get him talking.
And, when you're active, you got to take precautions. So let's make sure that we recognize where we are with this. Because it's seismically active. All right, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news.
Access. Information.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The National Gallery, in partnership with the Seafarers Association, presents Married to the Sea, Voices of Seafarers' Spouses. The event is on Saturday at 6 p.m. for an evening of stories from women whose partners went away at sea during the prime maritime years. The evening opens with a poetry reading by Nasaria Saku-Shalet, who will read her piece, The Lady in Blue. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. In a world first, scientists have discovered a new type of antibiotic using artificial intelligence. It has been heralded by experts as a major breakthrough in the fight against the growing problem of drug resistance. A powerful algorithm was used to analyze more than 100 million chemical compounds in a matter of days. Researchers said the newly discovered compound was able to kill 35 types of potentially deadly bacteria. And a 7-day reduction in violence between the U.S. and the Afghan Taliban will begin on Saturday, officials say. If successful, the two sides will then sign the first phase of a deal aimed at ending nearly 2 decades of conflict. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
This February at Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa, enjoy skin-sational savings on your favorite spa services. Buy up to 2 of any of the following spa services for just $99 each. Laser hair removal to get rid of unwanted hair. Dermaplaning to smooth and brighten skin. Hydrofacials to treat acne, pigmentation, and dehydrated skin. Or cellulite and fat reduction in those stubborn areas. That's up to 2 services at Beyond Basics for just $99 each. Offer valid until February 29th. And services must be used by April 30th. Call Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa at 925-SKIN or visit Beyond Basics Spa on Instagram and Facebook for details.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Good afternoon, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And this month's See Wha Ah Sayin, excellent company of a good friend, Simon Boxall. I mean, we will elevate him to that.
Thank you.
What do you think, Ray?
You know West Bay, yeah.
I know you a long time, right? I used to live in West Bay.
Yeah, but anyway.
Not really a real deal.
So, okay, where we left off, we were going through the timelines of the earthquake to show how active Cayman is in the area. I left off at 1849. You talked about a 4 to 3.
To the 34?
You said
well, we're up to 1846. There's been quite a few quite big earthquakes around Roatan region. In fact, we had one, I think, January 2018 that briefly put us under a tsunami alert. And then prior to that, 2008, there was another 7+ one. But looking back, we were talking about the timeline. 1856. An earthquake of magnitude about 7.7 occurred near Roatan and raised the south coast of Roatan up by 15 feet.
I think by that time a lot of Caymanians over there.
And generated a tsunami that ran as much as 24 kilometers. How many miles is that? Like 16 miles? 16 miles inland into Central America.
That's more, yeah. That's close to 20, I think.
17,000 people
were killed?
No, that's actually the more recent one in 1976. 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck about 180 miles west of.
Did you have more than 1800s? Because after that is the Jamaica 1907.
1907. You know, they were operating on the building code, the 1908 building code, I think up until now. And I mean, you can see how these events actually create change.
Yeah.
I mean, you react. Like, we need to
see. That's why I brought up about the 7.0 in Haiti and stuff, and why weren't there's more damage in Cayman, even though it was just basically the effects of 5 over 5.
They go in a magnitude is logarithmic, so it's the wavelengths are 32 times as big as you go, and about 100 times as strong as you go from a 4 to a 5, and 1,000 times as you go from a 4 to a 6. So there's some suggestions that it might be, I don't want to get people alarmed, but it could have been over 100 times as strong if it happened like right on top of us.
Right. But I want to talk about whether there weren't as much damage in Cayman because of our building code, or we just got lucky.
I think we do have very strong buildings, and we're very fortunate in that regard. I mean, like you look at what happened in Managua back in 1972. You know, a lot of those buildings were made out of adobe and things like that, and it just boom, just fell apart
and
on
then
people.
Mexico City and all
Mexico
those
City again.
So it is, but then again, we talk about our building codes, but then again, like say the post office, the library, the town halls and stuff, they fared okay, I think.
They did.
And they're before all our building codes.
Yeah, I think, generally the buildings are pretty strong. I mean, they're made out of concrete and things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we saw in Mexico City, in the one, I think, there's two that have been happening in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
In that first one, a lot of the 20-story buildings came down.
And it was shoddy. It was shoddy
Fairly
construction.
it
wasn't
shoddy construction.
every 10-story building that went down.
It's got something to do with the resonance, though, of the wavelengths. It can get into kind of a rhythm.
Yeah.
And so it just affected the 20-story buildings, and all the single-story buildings were fine. But in the more recent one, where the earthquake was really much closer, the wavelength is much more jerky when it's very close. And it affected a lot of the single-story buildings. So I don't think you can rule out.
Not all earthquakes are created equally.
No.
And then also the surface too. You got liquefaction. I think Mexico City might be
built on a old
like a
lake bed or something.
Yeah. So that's not good.
No, that's not what you want.
Yeah. So, and I think that might be happening also. I think Kingston and Port Royal.
Again,
liquefaction,
sandy sediment-based stuff. Yep. So really, I mean, people should be thinking about building to bedrock if they can, getting down on what do they call it when you
pilings?
Mm-hmm.
If you can,
How do you think the real estate agents are thinking about this show?
Real estate agents? I have other than a handful. Anyway,
because okay, so 1709 Kingston, Jamaica.
1707.
Sorry, 1707.
1907.
We're getting ourselves confused.
1907.
Dyslexics are great. In Kingston, January 14th at 3:30 p.m. Shook the capital. They estimate 6.5, but it lasted for 35 seconds. And then there was a tsunami about 2 meters, so that's about 6 foot.
Yep.
And there was about 1,000 casualties. Wow. And I think Cayman, we've got oral history of Caymanians being there.
There was an event in 1780. Some people say it may have been. I mean, that's a great hurricane of 1780, the deadliest
of
all time.
During that year too.
But they say that an earthquake occurred during the actual hurricane itself, and Savannah Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
A wave came in. Again, I've got an account of it.
Yeah, I came across that too, yeah.
But there is some debate, but I think it actually could have been a tsunami associated with that earthquake.
That's what I was going to ask, whether the pressure, because right after the Ivan, we had that earthquake, whether the pressure, does that have anything to do with the
It's
massive water?
It's a very interesting question because, like you said, we had one right through. And there's been quite a few other earthquakes that I've seen have been associated with hurricane activity as well, but it's we got to go to break.
No.
But I mean, the thing is was it really a tsunami, the one in 1780? Because we know when storm surge comes in, it's not a very gradual process. We like to think that it's going to take 20, 30 minutes for the sea to gradually come up. When that wind turns around and blows the water ashore on you,
I think people in Ivan will say, yep, that's
2 minutes.
Yep.
It sudden happens.
Yeah. So all of that weight of water and the pressure.
I mean, it's an interesting theory, and I've actually tried to find out more about that myself. And the science is basically saying there's no clear correlation, no direct relation.
They keep saying that, but then recently also the full moons with the volcanic action and all that stuff. I mean, it's a liquid, so the moons.
The moon pulls gravity, weight, everything. Mm-hmm. It seems to make sense to me. I see that, But hurricanes are low pressure systems, so that's actually taking less weight. But maybe that's releasing the action. Yeah,
it's all of that action. I mean, you got to look at it as in a larger scale.
Mm-hmm. I mean, water weighs a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
so what's the next one I have? I have, I think here. This is from. This is off of Fred Burton's records. 1934, 6.0 in Cayman.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. And then we had a 1946 in Dominican Republic, which was
that was pretty awful.
Yeah,
that was
8.1. Yeah. And then that killed like 2,500 people, over 2,500 people. And that had a tsunami of 16 feet, roughly 8 to 16 feet.
Right. And again, that's the transform plate boundary. It's not the subduction zone. And
but wasn't that on our plate?
It is kind of on the same interaction, Caribbean,
it,
North American plate. As is the Port Royal event as well, and a lot of these ones that we're seeing off Roatan down that side.
Wow. 1954, a 6.4. 1962, 6.2. And possibly I saw in a document.
Did you pick up the Santiago event as well or not? Because there was one off Cuba.
No, other than
1766.
Yeah, sorry, 1766. There was one. I wanted to talk about that with the 1755 Portugal tsunami, whether it affected us, because it did Santiago de Cuba, which is south, Cuba south, one of the oldest cities, and whether that, again, lack of information on Cayman, whether you think that wave affected us. I mean, it was, like I said, the
It's
Telecayman.
quite close to, it sometimes depends on which way the energy is going. So, like I said, the rupture isn't sometimes, it's not the subduction, so it's the secondary effect of underwater slips, stumps, and landslides.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of depends which way the energy goes. So it may go directly into Cuba.
So that might have been more localized event.
Could have been local.
Spawned by the
and in fact, the underwater landslides tend to result in a more localized tsunami, and that's probably what happened in southern.
Because I didn't see anything about Jamaica damage, and I wonder about that. Okay, the tsunami is about wave action deep, and then come into a shallow.
It is. It's a very long wave. So it's from the top of the wave, the crest, to the trough. It could be 30, 40 miles along, and it travels extremely quickly in deep water, so 500-600 miles an hour. And then it's from the top of the water to the bottom. So the whole water column is just basically moving at 600 miles an hour. But then when friction slows it down, it's rubbing along the seafloor. So when it gets to 15 feet, it's actually only traveling at 45 miles an hour. So that front leading edge is starting to come up, but you've still got 30 miles.
Sure.
So it's like a flood. So it picks up trees and debris and even
now,
cars.
Why I said whether the trench helps or hurts us.
Well, a lot of people say that, and it's something that needs further research. But as I point out to people, we've got 10 square miles of shallows right in North Sound. So to say that we've just got no shelf area, it doesn't seem to add up to me.
And it probably needs to come from the north of us.
Well, it's not the side necessarily of the event. It's not where you face the earthquake. It wraps around all sides. So it's going to affect all sides. It's not just from the side that the earthquake came on.
Okay.
So I think it's possible that we could get run up.
So let's join the caller.
Okay.
All right. Simon Boxall with Ray Banker. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Ray, and to Ray here and Mr. Simon.
Good
afternoon, sir.
Yes, I noticed the water rising out at Pedro where I work. You have a great almost 180-degree view, and you can compare the height of the water rising with tides and so forth. He's quite easily there and make a good guess. And I saw the water rise maybe half an hour after.
That would be about right.
I would say to about 1 foot, between 1.6 and 2 feet, the very most. But it was just a slow rise. Because that's very deep water out there, so you wouldn't expect it to be rushing in.
There's no reefs out there.
There's one thing I noticed. There was that foam that you usually notice with the old timers called it shark vomit. It was with a south wind, if you remember that.
It was that calm that day out there.
Yeah, and I remember my father and them other captains always calling it that in the old days. Another thing I'd like to and I think you probably have records of it. There was about an earthquake in Jamaica in 1957. I think it was about February. It's 63 years ago. It's difficult to remember it, but I remember it. I mean, the exact month, but I know it was early in the year. And or it could have been in March, but there was a bad one. You should have records of that because it shut the power off a while and it broke up roads and it tore down light poles and stuff. It was a bad effect from it.
Well,
and you must have some record of that.
I'm sure I do.
1957.
I know 1992 there was one as well that affected.
I wasn't there.
No, this was 1992. It's very recent.
That one. You never went there.
But that's an interesting event. I would like to research that as well.
It was before that. My father, I remember he was repairing a small 45-foot fishing boat for someone who had just bought it, and she had a cabin well rigged up like a small trawler. I remember her very well. Juanita was her name and all that. And My brother Stan hadn't come back yet from his trip at sea, his first trip with National Bus. And I remember it very well, the sound of it, like, well, here people are not used to trains, but it sounded like a train coming and all that. And we could hear the beating loud, much louder than this one with the buildings. Out at Peter, I could hear the big house rumbling and, and all that, because I was right under it. Mercifully, we had just come downstairs with 60-odd children. If it had been upstairs, there could have been panic with them and, the danger of that. But they come down, and that's when it took place. But, so I guess it lasted, to my mind, it lasted about 50 seconds. That's what I thought, but it might have been longer.
50 seconds.
This one that just took place, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here.
Yes, sir.
And it was bad, but I remember that one in 1957. And one of the stark memories, of course, was 57, the terrible Kendal railway crash. That was the worst, highest amount of deaths in a rail crash for many years throughout the world. Many, many years. I know there's been a serious one in India after that, but that was for many years, 1957.
Not to do that.
No.
Yeah, so you can remember. I remember specifically it was in 1957 that earthquake happened, and it was a bad one. And my sisters, the older sister, and my brothers, we often talk about that.
And that was, you said in Jamaica?
Yes, in Jamaica, 1957.
All right, but what one came on? Because, let's not mix them up.
I don't know if anything was felt here. It could have been. That was in Kingston I'm talking about, which is, a long ways even from the Grill Point. I don't remember just how hard or badly it was felt throughout the island. That island is 150 miles long, and Kingston is a good 100 miles.
But if I could ask of you, and then through asking you maybe others, because it was always intriguing in looking at the research, we had, relatively speaking, our parents are alive in these timelines, our grandparents. So 1934, 1954, 1962, and 1976, just in those few decades, do you recall, in the Cayman Islands, you or anyone else listening, having any reports, yourselves, your parents, your grandparents, of earthquakes?
Or the tidal waves.
Or the tidal waves from those times.
In 34, you said?
1934, there was one.
Yeah, my father did mention something about one, but I thought, because I remember that was the same year that there was that murder trial for, was it Biddy and my father was foreman of the jury on that one there with and he did mention that there was an earthquake. I think he always talked about it. Of course, my father is long gone home to glory now, but
yes, sir.
Any of those things he talked about, that there was an earthquake. I didn't remember him saying it was 1934, but it wasn't.
It might have been 1943, because I'm seeing... Sorry, sir, to interrupt. I'm seeing that event that you talked about in 1957, quite a strong one, again, Western Jamaica, which is closest point in Jamaica to us. Another one in 1943, so I'm wondering whether the 44 and the 3... 1943 anyway, and another one in Western tip of Jamaica. Strong.
My father's over there then doing big time, and doing the turtling for the Marion family, and also with the work doing the shark fishing for the British government, and doing a lot during the Second World War. Then I don't remember him mentioning about our earthquake at that time.
Yes, sir.
They were so busy with the war effort that. That could have escaped.
Yeah, exactly.
That talking then, but I know the 57 one. My father was home, as I said, he is deep.
Yeah. I think Simon was saying that was an 8.
It might have been an 8. I didn't realize that. I'm going to have...
Very bad earthquake.
A bad earthquake.
It was close to Jamaica.
The only one I'd ever felt in my life.
Jamaica.
It was kind of scary.
Did it go on for long, you remember? Did you say?
Yeah, I can remember it lasting, possibly I would say, but I can call up my older sister, Emily, and all. They will remember it very well, and Zoe and them, and here, they remember.
But roughly how long?
I would say it was about 3 minutes longer, maybe more, but I would say it was about 3 minutes, but there are others who, might remember.
Well, kind of All right. Hey, thanks. And with that,
appreciate that.
Yeah, for Cayman, the 1934, 1954, 1962.
Mm-hmm.
For Cayman, to see if there are any memory recollection from anybody, first-hand or otherwise.
And I can sort of go into the oral history. I've got Miss Genevieve Barden. She was born. Hold on, wait.
While you look for that, I will tell you though, I did talk to a woman, and she told me one time when she was a child, she remembers the sea pulling out quite far in Georgetown, like a couple of 100 feet, but there was no incoming tsunami associated with it. But that's generally a fairly clear sign that there's a tsunami.
I want to ask about that. Maybe I'll ask off air and you tell me whether it's appropriate. But with great respect to Ms. Susan, there's a break, Mom. Apologize, we ignored that earlier. There's a caller. With great respect, please stay on the line. When we come back, we're going to learn and laugh, and we're going to learn. So stay tuned.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Hi, I am Dr. Lee, Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health. The Ministry and the Department of Public Health, along with our partners, are working hard to help protect residents from the novel coronavirus. Did you know that following travel advisories is especially helpful in controlling infections? So, avoid travel if you have a cough, flu-like symptoms, and a fever. It's also important to practice general infection prevention measures at all times. That means frequently wash your hands and avoid close contact with people suffering with acute respiratory symptoms. To read more about the Public Health's travel advisory and other updates, please visit hsa.ky.
Radio Cayman News.
Airport officials say runway operations were suspended.
Cabinet has approved regulations to control the entry of persons into the Cayman Islands who have a travel history to mainland China.
This part of the air, that is where the coast is situated. Absolutely no changes to that.
It appeared to be a tooth belonging to an extinct shark species known as a megalodon.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
This February at Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa, enjoy skin-sational savings on your favorite spa services. Buy up to 2 of any of the following spa services for just $99 each. Laser hair removal to get rid of unwanted hair. Dermaplaning to smooth and brighten skin. Hydrofacials to treat acne, pigmentation, and dehydrated skin. Or cellulite and fat reduction in those stubborn areas. That's up to 2 services at Beyond Basics for just $99 each. Offer valid until February 29th. And services must be used by April 30th. Call Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa at 925-SKIN or visit Beyond Basics Spa on Instagram and Facebook for details.
Water Authority Cayman is proud to supply the Cayman Islands with pure, wholesome, and affordable tap water. Come check out our booth at the 53rd Annual Agriculture Show this Ash Wednesday to learn the benefits of drinking tap water. Plus, visitors who pledge to take back the tap will get a free water bottle while supplies last. Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
How would you describe See Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
See Wha Ah Sayin?
Get into tsunami.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Ray Banker. And again, this show is not just his interest and intellect, but really seriously, the amount of information that we have on our history, and the more that we need to look into it.
It's funny. I was just when I was walking here, I said the amount of research papers, scientific papers on our geology, on our animals and stuff that other people come and do here, and they find it interesting and unique and everything, but yet we don't appreciate it.
Yeah, I think there's been some research done on Malportis Pond. I know there's some on the Little Cayman lakes. They've done core samples.
But I'm saying not just this topic, but just
in general. Yeah. All right. Just as we continue, let's show some deference to one of our callers and go to the phones.
Okay.
All right. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Wayne. How you doing?
Very well, sir. And you?
I'm not as good as you, but I'm good.
Hey, listen, you know, if you're handsome and got nice green eyes and pretty curly hair.
And you're taller than him, too.
Yeah, why did you just say it's hard to be as good as me?
Yes.
I hate him, McNavis.
Everything is good, man. I just listening to the show they're talking about, earthquakes. That the Cayman Trough or Cayman Trench, whatever it is, that is the second deepest thing in the ocean. I think that's the second deepest place in the ocean. I think the Mariana.
Definitely Caribbean, deepest. Yes. Anyway, yes, Marianas Trench. Yes, you're right. I think Puerto Rico Trench as well.
Yeah. I think it's deep. It's the next deepest one to the Mariana. But anyway, when the dynamics of and how far? First of all, the question is how far south is that of the Cayman Islands?
A little over 20 miles.
20 miles. Okay. And whenever they have these tsunamis or whatever they call them, is that one wave or is that a series of waves?
Great question. Yep, it is a series. Normally, it's a series of waves because the different wavelengths in an earthquake. You got the P wave, the L wave, the S wave. So, yeah, yeah. Anyway, get back to your question, sir. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the thing I was saying that when Ivan came by, why we got so much damage from water and the water was so high was because it came from the north of the island, or the north side of the island, where you have the North Sound, and that's an average of about maybe 6 feet. Most of the place, it's 6 feet deep, not much more than that. And when those waves came in, I was telling people, I think what happened when those waves came in, as they hit that flat up there, then everything slowed down. And the ones that came behind it kept pushing it, and it had no place to go but up. Because I know that my home was in the Heritage Club on the beach side, and I remember standing up and looking and seeing after that, the boats and stuff had been washed away from the docks and stuff up there, and people tell me, I know, like some of my friends tell me they had 8 feet of water in their house, and there wasn't anything like that on the south side. So I can only attribute that to what I just said, that when them waves come in, if they slow down, they go higher up because of the shallow depth of the water. I think that's what happened.
It does. Is this Mr. Ackerman? No.
Yeah.
I do think it depends. They actually say that the waves are another threat as well, but in hurricane-driven waves, the waves can only be 1.5 times the depth of the water. So in fact, deeper water, what you're seeing off, say, the gully area, you've got quite deep water offshore and off Pedro and that sort of area. So you're seeing, because you've got about 20 feet of water there, it's possible to get a very large wave come ashore, and actually it breaches the coast. So if you have a 20-foot storm surge, you can get a wave that's 1.5 times the depth of the water. You could be looking at a 30-foot wave, which can put in some. Each cubic meter of water weighs a ton. That can, you could get if you dig down deep, or if you have deep water offshore, you can get a bigger wave. But with a tsunami, it's a different situation. The shallows is what's actually, like you say, is actually what's causing the wave to get higher. But as Hurricane Ivan passed Grand Cayman on the south, below the south coast, going from east to west. I hear at one point it blew all the water out of the bays in Cayman Kai and Rum Point area, and there was no water in some of those lagoons up there. It was all getting pushed down. So if you happen to be on a coast that's having the wind blow the water ashore, when the wind is going in the same direction from the sea towards your property, if you're on the coast, that's where you're seeing that storm surge. So surge is a different matter to the waves. Anyway, I see them waving. They want to get back.
No.
We're just having a discussion.
We're past this.
Go on.
No, I think it's very interesting. I think all these things you could use further study as well, because I think, we're looking now at hopefully going to get underwater bathymetry done. So we're going to get LiDAR of the underwater environment down to 40 meters, we're hoping, because once we do that, then the National Weather Service in Florida said they're going to run about 80,000 different models of different hurricanes of different sizes, different forward speeds, different angles of approach, and we could actually probably give real-time forecasting of storm surge before an impact, which would be incredible. And they'd also help us with understanding the wave run-up from tsunamis. Because I think, there's a lot of people there who say, quite rightly point out, you've got a pretty short shelf, maybe you're not going to get it. Maybe it's going to displace around you like a ship. But then I point out, well, you've got quite a lot of shelf off East End, parts of South Sound, and of course the North Sound. So I don't think we can...
You can't rule it out.
We can't rule it out.
Anything else you want to share, sir?
No, I just want, while I'm on it, talking about that, I was reading this morning about in the paper that down in the Marriott, they're talking about replacing that beach that washed away there. And I don't know if that's going to work, because I remember when they tried to do it the first time, they had some artificial grass or something.
Oh, you remember the plastic glass?
And that wound up down in West Bay by the four-way stop down there.
Yes, sir. All right. Yeah. Now, do you remember, before you go, the 1934 earthquake, or even the one in 15? No, just kidding. Seriously, the 1934, 1954, or the 1962 earthquakes in and around Grand Cayman. Do you remember anything from any of your family talking about any of them?
No, I never heard any of my family talk about them. I mean, I remember World War II. I remember hearing depth charges being dropped off there.
Fair enough.
Like that, but I never knew anything about it.
Yes, sir. All right, thanks for that. And gents, do we pick up the next caller? Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, sir. How are you today, my friend?
Okay. Good afternoon to you guests too.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, about 7 years ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, I was working on a construction site. And an earthquake happened. And I said to one other man that was working there with me, I said to him, I said, an earthquake. And not too long after that, the whole island turned upside down.
You sure that was not an election? I'm just kidding.
No, seriously, Dwayne.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah, I hope you hear me. The whole island turned upside down and started to sink down to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. And in the dream, I was trying to swim. I was trying to dive, to try to come up, to get air, to breathe. And the island started to come down on my back while I was diving. And I said to myself, you can't make it, boy, Keith. And I woke up. And I'm a believer in dreams. I'm a believer in dreams. And where Cayman is located, especially from East End to Georgetown on that part of the island, the ocean on that side is very deep. And what we had the other day was very serious. If it was any closer or any longer, I think the island would have went into the ocean. It's just the mercy of God that He didn't allow it to happen.
Amen.
And just about 5 minutes before that earthquake happened, I was thinking about this dream that I had. 5 minutes before this earthquake happened, I was thinking about this dream that I had. And then the earthquake happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man, and thanks for the prayers as well. Sustain
Thanks,
us.
Ethan.
All right, so Mr. Ray, Mr. Simon. So set us up after the break, Ray. We gotta have a clip as well. We got Simon to share more stuff with us.
Yeah, we gotta talk to Simon.
We talk to Simon.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Get ready, gamers, for 6 weeks of non-stop competitive action. The Cayman Islands Esports Association is proud to announce the first ever FIFA E-League. Starting February 1st. Compete for the gold on FIFA 20 for the PS4 every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Bodden Town Civic Center. Sign up today at CaymanEsports.org. Competitor fee is just $75 and includes your own jersey and swag bag. Spectators are free, so come out and enjoy the world of esports. Proudly sponsored by Gamers Bay, NetGeeks Media, CUC, Kimpton Seafire, and the Cayman Islands Youth Services Unit.
The FIFA E-League is also sponsored by Radio Cayman.
Your favorite Cayman Family Fun Day is almost here. It's the 53rd Annual Agriculture Show, taking place at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. It's going down Ash Wednesday, February 26th. $20,000 will be up for grabs, and it's going to be so much fun for everyone. Mark it on your calendar, February 26th. For more information, visit them on Facebook or email 345agriculture@gmail.com.
Water Authority Cayman is proud to supply the Cayman Islands with pure, wholesome, and affordable tap water. Come check out our booth at the 53rd Annual Agriculture Show this Ash Wednesday to learn the benefits of drinking tap water. Plus, visitors who pledge to take back the tap will get a free water bottle while supplies last. Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink. Red Sky at Night. Terrific live music, actors, dancers, comedians, and poets. Over 100 artists and artisans selling paintings, crafts, jewelry, and accessories, as well as delicious local food. Red Sky at Night at the Harquail Cultural Center. Saturday, February 29th, 4 p.m. to midnight. Don't miss out. Tickets on sale now at eventpro.ky. A CNCF production. Sponsored by Hurley's Media, Pepsi, Caribbean Airlines, and Radio Cayman.
How would you describe See Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
See Wha Ah Sayin?
Afternoon, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And as we continue, the excellent company of Mr. Simon Boxall, recognizing that he's got to get back to work, Right? People got this misconception that civil servants don't work hard. That's one of the talk show hosts. And the others got work to do. But at some point, we want to get into the system in East End.
The sinkholes, but we want to get the tsunami and the earthquake stuff.
So, Simon,
I wouldn't mind actually just returning to Keith's point there a moment ago, if about a sinking. Probably a lot of people in Cayman are familiar with that wave-cut notch in Cayman Brac. That notch along the shore. Yeah, man, it's sort of dug under a little bit. They call it the wave-cut notch. It's kind of under the bluff. It's kind of dug in a little bit. You never seen the wave cut? You're looking at me like I'm crazy?
No, just teased you. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Some people know about that. Okay, anyway. So basically,
you're the expert.
Each of the three islands, you can see Cayman Brac is obviously much higher than Grand Cayman, right?
The wave. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant like somewhere. No. That it was above. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they say, each of the three islands are kind of uplifted blocks from previous earthquakes. Basically, they're individual blocks. So we look at the iron shore, which rings all three islands. Along the shoreline, there's the iron shore in places. There's beach, but there's iron shore in a lot of places too. And that was apparently formed when the last sort of high stand for sea level, so within the last 125,000 years. And each of the three islands, that iron shore is at about exactly the same height. So it shows that we're actually not moving very much up or down. We're actually fairly stable. At least we have been for the last 125,000 years. So the likelihood, of us tipping off into the trench or whatever is incredibly remote, or sinking or falling any kind of...
What about Mr. Raymond and his equipment?
That's another question. But I mean, it's quite interesting, this is a bit lighthearted, but you look across to the west of us, there's this bank called Mysteriosa Bank.
Thank you.
And Misterioso, what's that in Spanish?
Mysterious, or
Mysterious.
like it's up and down,
There's
down.
some talk. I mean, that in the maps prior to 1615, and earlier we were talking about these big rocks on the shore, big giant boulders. There's some maps apparently show that as maybe an actual island above.
As a fourth, I was supposed to bring that up.
Well, there was fourth island in Cayman as well, so I don't know whether that's 12 Mile Bank.
Let's get to that.
And even some people, I've heard accounts, some people saying even West Bay might have been separate from.
Well, if you look at the rocks and what's in between 7 Mile Beach, that's just peat in
Swamp.
between. Yeah, so that was reclaimed land. But so when we're talking about the 1692 events, 1673 map,
Gold, George.
No, 1673.
1673.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a map. Forget what it's. I think Spanish, and it shows on that map what looks to be a fourth Cayman Islands. So possibly in the 12 Mile Bank area.
Wow.
So yeah, and then after the 1692, the maps didn't show it anymore. So even in one of the brief history of Cayman that UK office is putting out, they theorize or wonder. They ask the question whether it was an island and whether the earthquake in 92 affected it. 1692 affeced it, and. Or it could be other possibilities like the obviously the era, the 1690s, the
map makers,
the accuracy, and also they used to have what they call trap islands. They would secretly put in an island just to mess up the people who were coming behind them using their
some maps.
Their map.
It shows like a shallows between Grand Cayman and Isle of Pines or Juventus now.
And I've seen it where Cayman was pushed way close up to Cuba also. Yeah. So there's got the map inaccuracies.
True.
But there is a 12 Mile bank. There is a bank out there, 12 miles.
Yeah,
and it,
for sure.
And they dove it. I know a couple of people dove it. There's even expeditions there.
Mysterioso that comes up quite high. I mean, I think it comes up like 20, 25 feet. I mean, probably.
So it could have been. Would say. It could have been that island that they were referencing.
Maybe they thought there was. Maybe there was an island at one point.
Well, that's
like
what
the early mariners.
Or whether it was whether it's just a bank of sand, whether it was submerged. Wave
could
action, all that stuff.
Erosion and weathering.
Yeah. Yep. So there is an idea about a fourth.
Doesn't necessarily have to be an earthquake. You're right.
Right. It could have been a hurricane that did it or
just
something.
weathered it down.
But it's a possibility of a fourth Cayman Islands. Real estate agents, we go, we're in your corner there. So that's fourth Cayman Islands. But let's get back to tidal wave versus tsunami and tidal wave during the hurricane, because I talked to Mr. Mr. Tibbetts, whether he estimates where we have it here. The 32 storm had a tidal surge of about 30 to 35 feet, I think is what he estimated.
Something 32 feet. But I wouldn't call it tidal. The tides stay the same.
Well, sorry, storm surge.
Sorry. And I don't know whether that includes wave trapping as well, because it's quite possible if it was just...
But I tell you what, if you're in the 32 storm, you wouldn't worry about that. You wouldn't worry. It just be... it was 34, it was 30 to 35. And then they estimate a tidal wave of 50 feet. On top of that.
Well, I wouldn't call it a tidal wave. That was a storm-driven wave. I mean,
big wave.
Okay, big wave.
What
people call it, but like I hear it a lot. Though. Wait a second, Ray. I hear tidal wave. It's fine. I think it's okay for people to call it a tidal wave. A tidal wave, though, is to do with some places they have like 20, 30-foot tides, and sometimes you can get like a wave, a very sudden kind of movement.
But take out the tidal. Wave, a 50-foot wave. I guess they've got the bluff there.
That's
so
conceivable.
They could measure it.
If you had a 20-foot storm surge, you could easily get a 50-foot wave on top of that. I hear it breached the bluff at the very far end.
So that's what. But the point of that is, if you can have that type of action, can you not have a tsunami with it? And Mr. Tibbetts pointed out that it's the different mechanisms that's creating those waves, those tidal waves.
Yeah, no, you need some sort of like... energy force to push it. Even like if you look back, like meteorite, you look back at the dinosaurs. They say that when that one came down, it must have created a huge.
So that with a wave associated with a hurricane, it is the wind and surge, the wave surge, that sort of creates that action, rather than, which is different than a tsunami.
So the storm surge is created largely by wind, pushing the water. The tides are not going to change. So if it's a 1 foot tide, it's going to stay a 1 foot tide during a hurricane. So it does matter if it comes in on a high tide, because an extra foot makes a big difference.
Sure.
But no, it's more to do with size of the wind field, the ability, how much wind it can push. Like Paloma, I've said a couple of times, only 7.5 miles wide a radius of hurricane force winds, so really wasn't able to push much water on the Brac. But then you look at a Mitch, or you look at an Ivan, or you look at even Sandy, which hit New York, which wasn't even a hurricane, but it was huge, and so it pushed a 10-foot wall of water into New York.
But just to make the difference between like a storm-generated wave rather than a tsunami.
Yeah. They're very different, and the wavelength is extremely long normally in a tsunami. So we actually saw, when the containers washed into the harbor, it actually looked fairly calm out to sea, and we've seen it several times where it's very calm in the south side of the island, but boats are flipping up in the channel, because it's not just about wave height, it's also got a lot to do with wavelength. So those long swells are coming through, and all of a sudden when it gets into the shallows, into the channels, suddenly you've got like a 10 to 12 foot wave.
With Mr. Ackerman, when he was talking, you said there's also localized conditions where there's a certain area that's deeper and it will cause a different
different dynamic. So wavelength has a big role. I probably should head out of here pretty soon, but I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity. I think probably I just want to say before I go, a lot of people probably feeling anxious. I think if you didn't feel kind of slightly scared or scared during the actual event itself, then, all of us felt that.
Dwayne wasn't. Dwayne was more concerned about commercial break and stuff.
Right, getting his lunch or something.
Yeah.
But no,
But Susan was on touch. She was... we have to get out of here. Forget the break.
But there's a lot of agencies working in government. We've got lots of information on our websites. If you are concerned, give us a call. I think the probability of another enormous earthquake occurring like this in our lifetime is probably pretty small, but it pays to know what to do.
Sure.
And even the possibility of a tsunami is probably a dangerous one.
And then when planning comes along, don't bitch at them about putting extra steel and extra concrete and going down.
Why are they making it hard now to get a house built?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's true. It makes sense.
But it's like when you Hurricane Ivan, you're like, boy, I wish I had that extra block height. that one block height, you're looking at it.
Funny.
I listen to my daddy. He know what he's saying. Simon, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Always.
All right. And to our listeners, we're going to share more with you. We're going to take some more calls. The cistern, I was interested to learn more about that. So from East End, to West End and all points in between. Okay, to share with us some more. Please stay tuned for See What Ah Sayin.
2020 means perfect vision. And if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Hold up. Just two of the many hybrid models that Vamped is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamped can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vamped Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vamped, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road.
Rotary Club Central, in association with the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority, HSA, present Health Check 2020. Free health check, free mini medical consultation, diabetes, hypertension, and much, much more. Saturday, March 7, 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. Nurses, doctors, Rotarians in service to you. The Rotary Health Check 2020 at A.L. Thompson's, Foster's Airport and Countryside, Foster's Republics, and Kamana Bay. Costs you less. And Hurley's Supermarket. You may save your life. Rotary Central Health Check 2020. Your life, your health. Rotary, connecting the world.
The 2020 Cayman Arts Festival is here with performances by the young, talented and versatile Lana Janjanin Trio, a musical mix of classical, jazz, soul and R&B. Saturday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. at the Camana Bay Cinema. Tickets are $40 US for adults and $15 for students. Tickets are available at www.caymanartsfestival.com. For more information, call 922-5550 or email inquiries@caymanartsfestival.com.
Seems like an illusion.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
This February at Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa, enjoy skin-sational savings on your favorite spa services. Buy up to 2 of any of the following spa services for just $99 each. Laser hair removal to get rid of unwanted hair. Dermaplaning to smooth and brighten skin. Hydrofacials to treat acne, pigmentation, and dehydrated skin. Or cellulite and fat reduction in those stubborn areas. That's up to 2 services at Beyond Basics for just $99 each. Offer valid until February 29th. And services must be used by April 30th. Call Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa at 925-SKIN or visit Beyond Basics Spa on Instagram and Facebook for details.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And with excellent company of Ray Banker. What's our topic, Ray Banker?
We're talking about earthquakes, we're talking about tsunamis, and then we're talking about, we got to get into sinkholes or earthquake splits and all that stuff that open up along with earthquake.
So the phone lines are open and we're going to take a call. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ebanks. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, sir. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
I'm just hanging in. I'm into your panel, Mr. Hyde. Dwayne?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you something right now. After this is my third earthquake that I felt. Third one. It's my third one. The first one was I was working, and I felt that one also when it shake. Like that went by, and the other one was on the road, and as I got home, I felt the earthquake, and it was a crusade that night before that one, but it was just a little small one. But this one was really
got your attention.
It's really got to me.
Okay, don't lose the train of thought. But you said it's the third one, so I presume this one, the one in 2004 after Ivan,
and then 10,
and then the other one was in 2010.
I think with the small little one. It happened around 10 o'clock or 10:30 in the morning. I think that was that one.
Right.
Around lunchtime.
Okay, and also because
this one I was home and I was in my bed. I was trying to get some sleep, and all of a sudden I felt the shake. And I ran and I went to
Right. Now, for the first one, up until that point, had you ever heard anybody near you, family, neighbor, anyone, grandparent, anybody talk about earthquakes?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. But like I said, I run to the
Sorry. Hello. You okay? Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
I run to the living room.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, she felt that, and she said to me, "Did you feel that?" I had the baby, and then felt it shaking. But that's another thing, Dwayne. The Bible tells you that in the last days that islands will be moving over different places. The Bible tells you that the place in the scripture now will tell islands will be moving over places. But the thing is, right now, Dwayne, at night time I can't hardly sleep.
Listen, two things. One, with great respect, recognize that, and with all sincerity and all respect, find somebody to talk to, your physician, somebody, because like you, there are a lot of us who are still feeling that.
I was going to say that too when Simon was here. It's affected my sleep, and then now talking to you and then some other people. Definitely the days after. Like I took the day after off of work.
Robbie, yeah.
Yeah.
Even sometimes, when I stand up, I just feel like
wobbly.
Still.
When I lie down, I just feel like.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
If even just
You're not alone with that. You're not alone with that.
Yeah, man.
It's affected a lot of people's sleep and stuff like that.
I mean,
more than one way.
I'll say it.
Share that with you.
No, thanks for sharing, and please understand that just my casual conversations with friends and family, co-workers, a lot of people are still feeling that in physical, psychological, in many different ways. 2 different ways. Yeah. So don't ignore it. Don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And go as soon as you can and speak to somebody. And I would say that to everybody, because it's been 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now since.
Yeah, but then we had a couple of days ago. We had another tremor again. So that.
Yeah, I was at work. I think I was.
Did you feel that one?
I think it was Wednesday.
The last one.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, man.
Wednesday, Tuesday.
Yeah, man. Well,
Wednesday
go.
night or Thursday night. One of them nights was it.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that one. I was
okay.
In a room. I didn't feel that one. Somebody came in told us that it was at a shake.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But go chat with someone. Maybe even your co-workers, your section of your employment could.
Your physician.
Bring somebody in to talk to the staff. But you personally go and speak to your physician and speak to, for want of a better word, somebody for counseling, because it is.
You're not alone with that. You're not imagining it.
No, not at all.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, man, take care.
Right,
and thanks for sharing with us. And that was part of the reason why I'm glad we proceeded with having this discussion now, because.
And I forgot to bring that up too, the actions that, because I remember after 2004, I was like a beacon for earthquake. I call myself, because of my headaches. And actually, the morning of the last earthquake, I just felt out of sorts. I remember going to work and I'm going, I feel funny.
It was weird, eh?
Yeah, I told the girls, I was like, something, I don't know, feel out of body today.
Exactly, man. And the thing is, why
it's affected. I mean, there's I guess Simon would be a better person. There's I don't know what you would call it, basically it's like same as being seasick.
Yeah.
You get that thing that your body picks up on, but you may not be conscious of it.
Exactly. And some people are a little bit more in tune with stuff, but
it's sensitive.
Yeah. And the thing too, right? Why I asked the gentleman earlier, why I asked the other one, and why I'm asking people, do we have anybody in our family, our parents or grandparents and the like, who have said to us, I remember, just like we remember the hurricanes.
Well, what? Growing up in school, I kind of remember hearing that there was, like I said, I don't want to date myself, but maybe like in the 70s.
Who would want to?
Exactly that too. But in the 70s, I remember hearing about tremors when you were in school and going, like I didn't, well, first of all, you didn't think Cayman had earthquakes. I thought Cayman wasn't big enough to have earthquakes. And then also, definitely in the 80s, when they were driving, there was one and I didn't feel it, and somebody said because when I was driving. But to go oral history, I was bringing it up when Simon was here. Oral history, Miss Genevieve Barden, she was born in 1914, and she talked about Mama talking about earthquakes and stuff in Cayman. And she actually felt earthquakes, and there were holes where they lived near Banksville. Which is Westby Fire Station, Westby Graveyard area.
Behind that section.
All that area. Yeah. So Banksville, those of you know where it is. And there were holes that nobody had dug. They were formed by the earth, and water spurt from those holes. So I was kind of talking with Simon, so that might be like a 6.0 or something, round about that region to do that type of thing. And her mother was, I just estimated her mother was born 1875, 1920-ish, or then when maybe 1920-ish when Miss Genevieve Barden would have told that. So if you look at that, you can kind of triangulate when one might have happened.
And this is why, as you go to the news, people can maybe have next thing they think during the news break to see if they can recall. I've spoken to friends across Grand Cayman specifically, right? From East End to West Bay, and asked them to chat with some of their older sort of relatives. And what was interesting, one, the reluctance now, and two, the sort of confused recollection. But the very obvious
reluctance to talk about?
To talk about it. The events, and then also the accepted knowledge that we have these holes, blue hole, we have the cistern, we have all the little faults, the splits, the crevices, or whatever that exists.
And then we're calling them, that's what we wanted to talk to Simon about. We didn't get a chance to ask him. The earthquake splits.
Mhm.
We use that term a lot. Earthquake
Right.
splits, and how they actually may not actually be earthquake splits.
I throw one more word at you. Not for it to be
Supercalifragilistic.
not for it to be scientific, but a word that I heard, right? Just this week alone in
Crevasse?
no, not that I heard for the first time, but
Something
they
like
were
it, yeah.
more willing to utter, not earthquakes, sea quakes.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
So-
There was an account of that. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
look into it as
All
much.
right.
But
So I threw that there. Maybe that'll spur someone to thought. Please join us after
especially
the news
mariners,
break.
our mariners that we have.
All right.
come
Stay
up with
tuned.
Biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
After losing 4-2 to Puerto Rico on Wednesday, the Cayman national under-20 boys team will get a chance to redeem themselves today against Bermuda at 3:30 p.m. Cayman time in the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship. The under-20 girls will get started tomorrow against Haiti in the Dominican Republic. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. A supporter of the banned Islamic State terror group has admitted plotting to blow herself up in a bomb attack on St. Paul's Cathedral. Muslim convert Safia Shaikh went on a Renaissance trip to scope out the London landmark and a hotel. The 36-year-old, born Michelle Ramsden, was arrested after asking an undercover police officer to supply bombs. And people around the world have rallied behind a 9-year-old Australian boy after a video of his deep distress over being bullied went viral. His mom posted the clip of Quaden crying after he was targeted at school for his dwarfism. The clip, viewed over 14 million times, has triggered an outpouring of support and #WeStandWithQuaden messages. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
How would you describe See Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
See Wha Ah Sayin?
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us, and really very grateful to all you who are listening, and to Simon for joining us, but equally that last call in particular. And we understand our intent is to convey accurate information, to do our research. I say but raise the diligent guy, but also to recognize that this is still an open wound, as it were.
Like I said, I want to bring that up. Like the one of the accounts showed about the people with giddy heads and stomachs being queasy and things like that.
Yeah,
and this is maybe 1600s, 1700s or something. So. So
Miss Susan shares we have a caller, but I'll come back to this idea of sea quakes and the what do you call them? The hurricane split, the earthquake splits, the splits.
Earthquake splits, which moves into our sinkholes.
Right,
basically.
Well, let's go to our phones.
Yeah, we got a clip too that
we got an archive partnership. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Darling.
Hi, Mom. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm not shaking her until you that.
Oh, thank God.
But I tell you what, I come and give you my story now of my experience, right? I was laying on my bed just relaxing. I keep my phone very close to me. If it's not on my stomach, it's on my bed and my hand on it. So at 2:06, I got this call from Health City. 2:06 now, I got a call from Health City. I lift my phone, then I see it was some side gap, and I sat down on my bed. Now, my bed frame has wheels, so I keep them locked. I don't want to be driving, you understand?
Yes, Mom.
So, 4 minutes after was when I got this felt this bed, you know. It was going. Mr. Simon, then we're talking about east and west and stuff like that. My bed heads to the east. So with my wheels and my bed frame being locked, I was going side by side, east and west, east and west, east and west, east and west.
Yes, Mom.
Now at this time I didn't have my feet to the floor yet, but because I got Red Cross training, if I had gotten away, Mr. Simon was there, he would knew who is speaking, because when they were starting to get them trained to get this the CERT members. You know the CERT, right? CERT. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I was to some of the first meetings, right? But then I could not go through it because of my situation. And then, but I did show, the last one that I was at, I did show, well, the first one I showed it to Daniel Coleman. She said, well, you need to get a refresher's course on this. I am a trained disaster preparedness member, huh? Okay. With a certificate. And then, okay, now back when I got from the second meeting now then, before I started training, they were going through all the different things in the map way and all that stuff like that. So I then showed Mr. Simon my certificate then too. So even before that, he was talking for, no, it was Mr. Omar, I think that was with him. I couldn't remember the other name now. But then he was talking at the time, so I butted in now, and he said it's time for me to stop. And Mr. Simon said, sounds like she knows something about this, you know. Yeah, but then, listen, the next day was my appointment at Hill City. So on my way to Eastern, what's going on now? I take rest at the town from town to Eastern.
Right.
So, okay, and maybe people start talking. People start talking about their experiences and all this. So there was a woman sitting in the back of me, and she talking about this, how she was on the bed and how she would try to get up and think. But then I made her talk on and on, and then I gave them my experience. But I said, listen now, I learned this from a Red Cross. Anything happening, if you're on your bed, you stay there. You mustn't do no walking about and stuff like that. You must stay there. But you must get a pillow to put over your head, to cover your head and your neck. But I didn't do none of that because I was sitting up now, then you understand?
Yes, well.
Yeah, but that was an experience. And sometimes it's terrible, sometimes it's him. Although I'm very bionic, right? And they laugh at me now. Two hips in the shoulder. Metal. So now, sometimes it feels myself kind of wobbly, but I don't believe it on the what was it? Earthquake. On the earthquake on my bionic mood.
Yeah. Well, thanks, and I think as we start to talk about it, we started recognizing the historical context. But thank you for sharing with us, and together we'll find a way. So thank you. Bless you, Mom. We've got another caller, Ms. Susan.
Thank you for that training.
And we also have Mr. Banker, the excerpt as well. So take us.
You want to? Can we do that now?
Okay. So this is set us up, Mr. Banker.
Okay. We got a clip here from an oral history program from the National Archive, and it's Miss Ardis Smith. She was born in 1930. And interview was in 1912. She's passed away now, unfortunately. But she's talking about earthquake splits.
Except for bottles, all the bottles was put in a crocus sack or an onion sack and broken up with a mortar. Put them in the sack and pound them all up. When they got a sack full, and then it carried them up to Eastern Avenue. There was an earthquake split up there. Yes, there was an earthquake split up there. And used to go and drop the glass then down in the earthquake split. So our yard was a beautiful sanded yard. We used to get all like 6 truckloads of sand at a time. And it was a beautiful yard.
Where in relation to the road now, where, do you remember where that split would have been?
Yes. It went, in fact, they had to fill it for Borden Road to go out onto Eastern Avenue.
Oh, okay.
They had to fill it hard with men.
Oh, okay. So it would have run along the bottom part, the Eastern Avenue,
yeah,
the bottom
it would
road.
have ran, I guess, the west side of Eastern Avenue, and went across where Borden Road entered out onto Eastern Avenue. The big earthquake that was there. And another big one was behind where the Bush Plaza or whatever that was out there where Berkeley's Theatre used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Another big earthquake that was there, down between the people on that Uncle Arley owned there, which was leased out to the Bushes. And then on Jim Nixon's house down, so they're going down towards Rock Hole. Rock Hole Road?
Yes. Okay.
That big
that area
was down there. Okay. And then there was another big one out here where the Bride House is.
Right, now I remember that one. That's because I was right next to the manse. Because they actually had like a little bridge where the people from North Sea Town
could come out.
They came out across the street. Because I remember when I first came home after they had paved the road there, you know, and they had the common asphalt road there. And I said, what did they do about the split? Because there used to be a big, I guess they must have faded in or something, I don't know.
I think they keep throwing stuff into it, and then building the road, and so I think that the road is pretty much infringed on it now.
Part of the road now actually
has slipped in further there.
All right, welcome back. That was Ray.
That was Miss Ardith Smith. I think she's a Bodden actually originally. But I like that accent. That's a town accent, a old town accent. But she lived in West Bay. You said, huh? She was Mount Pleasant.
That's right.
Did that interview. Oh, that's a defector right there. So
we see that's moved up in the world.
But so what the point of that was and again why I included this sinkholes into it is because I think it's a misnomer that these sinkholes and stuff are caused by the earthquake and these earthquake splits and stuff, or stuff that caused by earthquake. And you can understand it. It's like long, giant deep crack in the earth. And you got places like Long Hole, West Bay. You got the split, I think, Little Cayman and the Brack and stuff. There's features over there. But actually, they're probably more, or they're more to a karst, what do you call a karst landscape?
K-A-R-S-T?
Yeah, K-A-R-S-T landscape. And it's to do with places that have a limestone earth.
So geography was a good class to take then?
Yeah, depend on the teacher. But,
that's why I say too, boy.
But yeah, so you got all kind of features. The sinkholes, you got things like Blue Hole, even Hell. And these are just ones that we know in West Bay. The cave systems, like the Pirate Caves, all the caves in the Brack, the Pillars, even things like that. They got a lot of accounts in West Bay or all over. We go by who we know and stuff, and most of our people, the contacts we have in West Bay. So there's tons of hole in West Bay. But one of the most famous ones is, now, maybe y'all can help us out here with this. Winter's Land Cistern, and it's up in the East End. I think the Pearson family, and I think the McLean, and maybe
the Conleys as well.
Yeah, Burns Conley was one of the people to contact for it. And we have a 1973 Nor'Wester article devoted all to it. I'm going to steal yours.
Yes, go right ahead.
And then it's called How Deep, and it's a bottomless cistern. And in this, they went with Mr. Luisito Hides and some divers, and they basically said it was 40 feet deep. They came across 40 to 50 feet, but like the last 10 feet were silt. And I think they kind of gave up after that. They didn't think. And then there's another hole in that region. I think one they call like the eastern split, and then the northern split, and then there's a southern split or cistern. But I've got friends that went into that and poked around for 2 days in that, and they found a hole, because this is a sinkhole. That cistern is a sinkhole. And again, that's a feature where these features are formed with the rushing water, and it is acidic, and it dissolves slowly over all of the thousands of years. They create features, and we've got all the people. I've spoke to people that dealt with the water systems in Cayman, and everyone just described it as a Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
The whole island, Swiss cheese. It got rivers, streams of water on the ground.
A couple of things, right? And again, this is maybe to be continued sort of discussion, right?
This is a discussion. This could be a topic all in itself.
Yeah. I would ask people to assist, well, for me, because so much of our history is still oral, or people are still not only respectful, but perhaps tentative, if I use the words carefully.
Yeah, I don't understand that. But
right.
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of different people from East End, and with the exception of one of my contemporaries, he said this. I don't know much about it, but I'll tell you what I know. Right. So I'll ignore that one for now, only because you just referenced it. But I spoke to two individuals in relation to the property near the new hotel, Kimpton.
Oh, well, that area was called the Wells, wasn't it?
Something like that. And
so a feature that never went dry, basically.
Right.
A good place for crabs.
Yeah, and there was a particular body of water. I'm trying to use some language that one fellow used. I told him to repeat what he said the way he said it, all right? But then I decided against it. But he was very reluctant to share anything sort of publicly, out of a belief that he may be perceived as being disrespectful. So there's a body of water there, like a saltwater lake, pond, or otherwise, that he says as a child they used to fish. Big snappers, all sorts of fish, saltwater fish.
Right there.
Right there.
And not Salt Creek, I should have. Salt Pond.
Yeah, no, not Sea Pond.
Sea Pond,
not
sorry.
Sea Pond.
Sea
Sorry.
Pond.
So this would be after, if you go into West Bay, I would assume this is north, but in case my directions are not good. So if you're heading to West Bay.
Hold on, which West Bay you talking about? After Marins or after the cemetery in West Bay?
No. So if you head into West Bay
or
and you got the hotel on your left, right? Then there's a clearing of land where they had some sort of
that area. Yeah, okay.
Right there, near there was this little body of.
But that's called Salt Creek area, right?
Salt Creek would be to like sort of the east of that, right?
Okay.
And he said this thing used to, it was a salt water place that they would fish, and he gave me some other information, but he wouldn't, say, well, you can talk about it. All right. So Susan says, weird. All right. Take the caller, Miss Susan says. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Sorry, good afternoon.
Rambo, how are you, man?
Yeah, man, good. So, can't complain, man. And now, you called out the 20th of January, right, last month when I called in.
Talk
about the coronavirus and stuff, right? We just have preliminary measures, precautions stuff within. For him to say that they're earthquake cured, right? And how, in my maths, right, my arithmetic, right? Like, 0.5 or a half, you round off to a new number, the whole number. So in the Richter scale, right, it was 7.7. Okay? So to me, in my aspect of it, that's an 8. That was very powerful indeed. So then, why you see now it came on, no? You know the correspondence of our greatest tsunami, obviously. I see it came on, no? Every quarter mile, we should have an air horn or a P system, right? like 107 decibels. You know, like on the radio, 15 minutes or whatever, they mention, something trigger with that. To tell you about it.
Sure.
Yeah, really true, because boy, it's all right, we that's the region, right? Obviously, globally, obviously, right? But why were about that tsunami?
But if you were listening earlier, what Simon was saying, if you feel long and kind of wavy earthquake, don't bother look for no tsunami warning. Just take that as your tsunami warning and head to higher ground.
I heard like 3 minutes duration. Find a higher elevation, higher altitude.
Yeah, don't wait for no wake up. Wait for it up there.
Exactly about that.
Find out up there.
Exactly. And now, gentlemen, have a good weekend, man.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks very much, Ryan. And one more call, Miss Susan? All right. To the callers, with great respect, please join us after this very short break.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching Yellow's print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
Your favorite family fun day is back. The 53rd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Theme, Agriculture for the Future. Ash Wednesday, February 26th. Family fun for everyone. Acrobatic show, cooking competitions, produce, plants, pony ride, petting zoo, rodeo, and so much more. Gates open at 7 a.m. with ample parking. General admission is only $10. Children ages 2 through 11, $5. And under 2 are free. Or buy your raffle ticket including entrance fee for a chance to win $20,000 and so much more. For more information, visit them on Facebook or 345agriculture@gmail.com. Put down your iPad and get back to your roots at the 53rd Annual Agricultural Show, February 26th in Lower Valley.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thank you not only for listening but for sharing as we go straight to our phones. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
My good friend, how are you? All right,
I'm
man.
good, sir. Very, very interesting, very informative session today. I'm sorry that I missed most of it, so forgive me if I ask a question. Cognizant of the time, I'm going to go straight to it. Forgive me if I ask a question that's already been asked. But I just heard Ray speaking about the various sinkholes and so on that many of us have known existed for a substantial period of time in various forms. And I just wondered whether there's also information available as to whether or not such occurrences in terms of the crashing together, for want of a better term, of the tectonic plates actually increasing the size of land areas in certain circumstances, and thereby causing some new or additional cracks in the land as it currently exists.
Well, to that, I'll perhaps defer to experts, but from what I understood in just basic research, that as that action occurs, you'll see the sinkholes being exposed, you'll see other activity, and potentially pushing up, what eventually will be sort of outcroppings from the sea and the lake. So
I guess dependent on the intensity of it and so on.
Yeah, whether so the movement of the plates creating the effect on the earth.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. Yeah, man. Very interesting. It's a fascinating subject, even for those who don't necessarily pay much attention in the geography class.
I'm not going to mention any names. I heard Ray say it depends on his geography.
Yeah.
But okay, so I gather those gentlemen are in concurrence then.
Yeah, Mr. Boxall has had to go back to work. I'm already at work, so I guess it's okay. Ray apparently isn't at work. This is not work for him.
I never do.
Yeah,
so.
Apparently it's not work, so. All right, but thanks for anything else.
It serves to reason, though. I mean, and based on my reading, there are times when it decreases the land surface area and times when it increases.
Yeah. I was going to say, I missed part of the question, but I think, it just depends on what it is. Sometimes, I was going to say a certain name, we'll get more land, but sometimes you get less. But I think it just depends.
Yep. One of those things.
According to Mr. S from Wahoo House. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Right, there's a B there too,
Yeah. All right.
Mr. B.
Let's go to the other line. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
JSE, what's happening? Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, right here, man. Thankful. You?
Bless, my friend. Very thankful, sir.
Okay, and then Mr. Ray Biker.
Yes, sir.
Nice to hear you up there again, man. I'm up. I know you're from West, so I call you up there,
Yeah. we in Georgetown now. They allow us to come up here.
Yeah, come up here. Talk up here. Okay. We're not going on to the earthquake, the tsunamis and things. In the Bible, they say that got to happen. So the only thing I can say about that is, you listen to this careful now. Things have to get worse. You know that word, the worse? So you can cheer up. Cheer up. Okay, listen to this one now.
Yes, sir.
I guess I was probably 7, 8, 9, 10, anyway, around there. Growing up down there in Crab Hole Road. And going to Town Hall School. And it was 2 places that I used to like to check out kind of often. There was a group of school boys mostly. The girls didn't like to do anything like that, but then they used to like to see us do this. In the back of Uncle Charlie house, Uncle Juvan house, and Audie house, Goldman and their mama, Trace and their mama. Okay, we called her Miss Audie, and then
you talking to Dwayne now?
I'm talking to you.
You talking to Dwayne is what I'm telling you.
He said Crab Hole Road, so you should know it.
That's off Reverend Blackman, right?
This is something you're doing the research.
Yeah.
Okay. In between them 3 houses there are the Charlies and Yukons and Miss Audie's. There was a hole down the back of them 3 houses. I would say more in the back of Uncle Yukons. We used to call that George Warren Hole. It was several feet wide, nice and round. My things were pretty. And you could actually get down in that and walk around, depending on you. I say I was about 7, 8 years old, something like that. Then days, wild as I don't know what, but then our exploration was wild. Like so, that place there was named George Warren Hole, right on the borderline of them. That fence that went across them 3 houses.
George Warren.
Bergman and Leroy would know about that. But
Right.
all them used to throw bush and things down there. They clean the yard and stuff. I threw the bush down there. And then about in the middle of I can't remember exactly where Jenny's house was, but anyhow, anyway around that area there was a little kind of mound, slight mound in the middle of the road. It went down in that grass. You call that Prentice grass piece.
Mr. Prentice, okay.
There's a hole there, yeah, a little pond.
And down in this was a piece on the right hand side of the road. I don't know if it belongs to Mr. Prentice at that time, but there was a minister used to live. I can't remember exactly the minister lived, Drysdale or something like that.
Not Black. That's not Blackman.
Blackman, yeah.
Okay.
Right there. The house right there. I think Jenna had bought it from somebody. I can't remember who it was. But anyhow, on that side of the road, on the right-hand side going down, it was this opening. Opening wasn't big,
is this
probably something like...
Is this... Because I was talking to Clydas about it, Kenneth Ebanks, and he was saying Joshua Hole. You familiar with that, Joshua Hole? This is off Reverend Blackman and down by Jimmy Powell, like a long split, like 100 foot length, maybe 8 foot wide, or high.
Something like that. It went right across the road.
I think. Well, there's a series of holes there. I think it's a bunch of them, but he would call it Joshua Hole, and then there's one that somebody capped off, like a well that they capped off in their front yard.
Okay.
All along Blackman Road there, Reverend Blackman Road.
Blackman Road, yeah.
By like Liberty's
right
restaurant.
Area.
Yeah.
Right there in that area.
So it's probably the same thing.
I was wondering if there's volcanic connection. Don't worry about that. It is volcanic connection.
Well, or more like what we said about the what they call is karst landscape, which is limestone being eroded. And it opens up like to the water table and stuff like that, and there's water lenses, and there's all reports about what we said before, the Winters Land cistern, that we've got reports of that opening up, flows out to the sea. So a lot of them are linked to the sea. They're salt water and mixed brackish water, fresh and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, the salt water is filtered before when you get inland, you know, and that's where you get fresh water. Fresh water here and a brackish water over here. Over here. Yeah. So on this black one, black one, this had looked like this was kind of shaped to me. It was shaped to me like a lady that was pregnant. That's the kind of mound it was, you know what I mean? Down in the hole, and it came up like the belly skin, and then the child was inside. You know, kind of a hollow in between the belly skin and the child, and we had to kind of squeeze ourselves down that hole to look and see what we could see. When you walk across it, you could tap your foot, and we could hear it down the hole.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
It was hollow.
Yeah, it was open below. Okay, yeah, that, like I said, the limestone car scenery landscape thing, you can end up with features like Hellcliff, and even in Jamaica, what they call cockpit country, that's all limestone scenery, and that's like the erosion, the earth being eroded by the water. So you get all kinds of different features.
Well, certainly, this is one of many series. Respectful, Mr. Jimmy, thanks for that. Let's take. Can we take one final call? All right. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dwayne. How you doing, man?
Very well. How about yourself?
Good. And to your panel there. Very interesting subject today. I've been listening on and off regarding the earthquake topic that you're on, and I keep having these phobia or nightmares even of my bed slipping away from under my of the earth slipping away from under my bed, you know. So talking about those sinkholes is something that I'm kind of wondering if what happened the other day, if there's still possibly holes that are not being revealed yet.
Yeah.
A matter of time before those two are being opened up after the fact, as it is right now. You know.
You're wondering if your house going to go under.
Well, not the entire house. My bed.
Yeah, more just your bed where you are. Yeah, I would say there's definitely holes that are not uncovered yet. Because like I said, this is an ongoing process. It's an erosion process. So the water erodes it. It's a water thing. So it's constantly happening. And we have a similar feature to, you see in Florida, where these gigantic holes open up. I don't know if we got holes that big, but we definitely, like I said, all the people that deal with water on the island keep saying that have to drill and things like that, keep saying the island is a Swiss cheese. And there's water underneath flowing, and like there's rivers underneath. So there's, I'm not gonna say no, there's none under your house, but I'm just gonna say there's more probably coming, more to be discovered.
Right. So my next question quickly is, in terms of preparedness, how do you
prepare for that? Yeah.
Yeah, because anything is possible at any given time, as it is right now.
Well, you got the guys. There's a group of guys, engineers and stuff that kind of deal with it. I don't know what are they called. I think there are people that deal with that. I know there's a Mr. Bush, that the girl that I work with is her stepfather. He deals with it. So there are people who can, if you're looking to get your place tested and things like that, I think there's people that can do that. I just don't know what their name, what you call them.
Right, fair enough.
I think they name expensive.
Yeah, name expensive.
Sorry.
Well, like I said, man, it's good that we're keeping this topic first in everybody's mind right now.
Yes, definitely.
We are not losing sight of what is happening around us, and I'm more conscious about it,
Yeah, man. But for what it's worth, though, I think it's important to bear in mind what like my father, but what our ancestors advise us. When we were building, build to the bedrock. If you're building on swampland, my brothers spent a lot of money, got the engineers to come on, drill down to the bedrock with a lot of pilings and put a lot of money into the foundation that you don't see the building, but the building is strong. I built on what I think to be solid cliff rock. But hey, you know what? Building the swamp, well, you know, to pay the piper. But I said, thank you, sir. Read this. Have a great weekend.
Maybe I guess the only thing to add to it is maybe get a there's some maps and stuff for Cayman that have the geology maps that have what like to tell you what type of rock or what type of foundation that you're on. Whether it's like reclaimed, like swampland filled. Like I said, I know areas that are reclaimed, you know, the areas that have a lot of fill and things like that are in swamp area that a liquefaction is will happen. I'm not sure like what area you are, but that is a concern also.
Without question, man.
Well, in the meantime, my probably just have a hammock in the room.
Yeah, but where you putting it to the walls? The walls, where they going?
Yeah,
but no, I would say education. Just find out, just research. There's a lot of stuff there, material there online, even.
All right, all the best, sir.
All right,
thanks
you for
man. And in all seriousness, though, like the gentleman who called earlier, to all of us, you know, if you're still feeling a bit fearful, you're still concerned, you know, if you're still feeling, I don't want to say ill effects from it.
Yeah, well,
speak to your physician.
Yeah, don't like I said, what we said, you're not imagining it. It's something that definitely happened. And I know, like I said, I personally will affect. I'm still trying to get over it.
Yeah, man. And then speak to counselors about it so that realize it's a lot of us.
Because it was, I mean, when we were talking, and then it was like, okay, not just me, and then I spoke to another cousin, and like, he's still suffering from it. So it's
for
comforting. What misery's company.
Yeah. But it's also to like the extent for those of us who may be on a boat for an extended period of time, and you come on the shore, you feel it.
Yeah.
Some of us may still feel that sort of rocking.
Because it is that type of effect going on.
But there are other things, and like the caller, you know, I guess, in a sense, concern. You know, what kind of ground am I on? I don't say this jokingly, but I was glad that my father was guiding us. You buying land? Well, know the land you buy.
Yeah.
I bought what I thought was, you know, good ground because it's cliff rock. Okay, it was expensive to build on it because you couldn't dig a cistern or a well or a septic.
He dig a hole.
But again, you know, it is something to consider.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, Ray, this has, no pun, opened up a lot of potential discussion opportunities.
No, it was good. It was great.
And we have a lot to look at. I'm somewhat still taken aback by the reluctance of some people to not share public information.
Yeah, I don't understand. And what I run into is people going, they're not an expert on it and stuff, and they probably know more than everybody else. I don't know why.
Yeah, but even some of the so-called experts have no. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then equally,
got a lot of information. Like I said, the winter's land, all of these things opening up. Like this particular person I'm talking to, these land holes have an outlet or inlet in the sea.
But I'll leave this with us, only because historically you're able to document the sort of the timeline, right? And I want to ask for what I think is still within our recent memory.
Yeah.
1934, 46, 54, 62, 76.
How many people experienced shakes and stuff?
And yet, I didn't ask anybody, but did you remember this in this decade of this year? I just asked, you know, well, this is your age, your mother, your father, this age, your grandparents are this age. Ever heard anybody say anything? And nobody said, no, I never heard it. But they could tell you, you know, a 15-year-old could say, yeah, you know, my great-grandfather was talking about the 1932 hurricane. They can repeat, but no one, or very few, could recall any talk about earthquakes.
Maybe because it doesn't last that long, or, you know.
It
goes without... It goes without saying.
All right.
I don't know.
Miss Susan, thank you very much. I have a 3 o'clock appointment. Right?
Oh, yeah? They're kicking me out?
They're kicking you out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Please continue to invest in ourselves, in our history, and become...
Sorry, and I was just going to say, if you missed any of it, we're on YouTube.
We are.
And then, what's the date again that you need to look for that nice video? The what? January 23rd.
No, wait, Susan, don't follow Ray.
This one is February 21st, but the other one is in
January 28th.
28. That's a good one. That's a good video to
Susan,
watch.
Susan, good commercial.
Probably around about 2:10. Well, actually, on the video, it's probably 1:50 something because the timing is off.
But did you watch the video to the end, the actual uncut
No,
on
I
YouTube video?
fell asleep. After you started talking, I fell asleep.
Aye. All right, have an excellent, safe, productive, and enjoyable weekend. Publicly, Ray, I want to say again, thanks for your willingness to embrace all of the different subjects, the opportunity to look at so many different areas. And it just reminds us that this country, there's so much that
There's
is
so
still
much that we got to uncover.
Yeah.
Really, it's like I said, it's bittersweet for me.
Yeah, man.
Thinking of the stuff that's going on.
And again, I use the word seaquake. More people willing to talk to me about them than they were about earthquake. But it's one and the same. All right. Okay, Miss Susan. 2 more seconds. All right. Join Mr. Art in the morning for the record come Monday, and then come back for Talk Today right after the midday news. We'll start off a discussion relative to Ash Wednesday, which is the upcoming agriculture show. All right. And we're going to have some things to give you Monday and Tuesday. Really, really grateful to Treats in particular. We have reflections, gift certificates. We've got some
I came the wrong day then?
You came the wrong day, man.
Sure.
All right. Until then, be blessed.
Thanks for listening.
See what I said?
See what I saying?
See what I saying. It happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
Jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman. A language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
See what I'm saying?